So hey guys, welcome back to another Sunday live stream at Trace Trades. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you click the link in the description so you could join the server and participate in these streams live. You do not have to be a premium member to attend. These are open to absolutely everybody, and we go live every single Sunday. To get right into the weekly watch list, first we have Amazon. Sold off very hard on Friday along with the rest of the market, but it closed at this interesting level right here where it's right near our 20 SMA and right near this 3500 level, where if we zoom out a bit, you can see not only is 3500 a very important psychological level, but it's been very respected in the past as far as rejects and breakthroughs. So definitely going to keep our eyes on that. If we do start to see it turning, this could be a very good bounce level. And there's some areas to mark some easy stop losses below, like 34.70, or if you're a little more risky, you could go lower, like 34.60. We also have Facebook, same sort of setup that we had charted last week, except just added this little falling wedge here. It's holding these levels nicely. The MAs are starting to stack. As long as it's supported by the general market, I do think we see a nice little breakout here. Break of our little inverse head and shoulders, and I'm thinking around like 360 to 370 by the end of December. Of course, that's if the markets don't really care about this new strain of COVID that we have, about a bunch of other stuff going on. Like there's some rebellion or civil war, excuse me, going on in Ethiopia right now. China's still trying to delist some of their names from U.S. exchanges. There is some stuff going on in the general market, and again, I'll talk about that more like once we get to the indexes. But as far as Facebook goes, as long as it's backed by the general market, then this looks like a very, very good name to keep tabs on for the next couple months. So we have IWM. Been sizing into this one a little bit, and then we got sold off on Friday, which is a little unfortunate, but I do think the setup is pretty still intact. Held this little support channel down here from this wedge, and if we flip on the weekly real quick, you can notice that we closed right above our 50 SMA, which just looks very, very good if we want to continue higher. Do remember though, IWM is small caps. If this new strain of COVID does start taking out developing nations more and more and does start having like a larger impact on their supply chains, small caps will definitely be the first to feel it. So that's just something important to note. But other than that, this chart looks very, very clean. Next we have LLY. Drew a little cup here for our little cup and handle setup. It just looks very good. It's been maintaining like higher levels even as the market sold off. Looks very strong. Got a couple of our MAs stacked right here. 50 is not too far behind. It is like the 15-day moving average, so nothing crazy, but just looks solid, honestly. If we start move up, we could break this wedge up here, or if you prefer to play the cup and handle, wait a bit, and you could play the break of this 272 level, excuse me, and just play it for upside off that. But either way, this looks like a very solid chart. This looks just very, very strong. Myrna, so we were talking about the bad things about COVID. Now we could talk about some of the good setups that we might see come out of it. One is definitely Moderna. They've kind of been one of the leaders in developing these vaccines. They have a lot of news about their booster shots and everything. Really, what we're just playing here is what we're playing is momentum. I'm not expecting any additional news. However, I do think it's likely that this wouldn't be the environment where they would issue like news like that. Like, so good trial results, more progress on any sort of COVID pill or booster shot they're developing. This is definitely the environment where we would see that. But also what we're seeing is like, look how high of relative volume that we're getting here. And we got this little level right up here. What's that? That's 350. So same type of deal with Amazon. Very important psychological level. And if you notice, this is where we topped out at, right, when they sold it off hard into their earnings. So this is going to be a pretty important level. Again, we're just going to watch for that break. It is a little higher than where we're at right now. We're at about like 330 right now, so we're going to wait for that break. We flip on the hourly. Like, there's not too much to try to snipe here. Maybe you could try to catch a bounce, but that's being a little optimistic. Like, if you want to try to catch a bounce off 325 or 320, that's a little optimistic in my opinion. But if you want to go for it, the setup is there. Like, this name is trading with a lot of volume right now. Personally, I will be waiting for that 350 break. And again, same deal. Like we got all of our MAs backing up. Extension from the 8, but that's just what happens when you gap up 20%. So again, Hughes, Spy, we're going to save this to the end. So right into Roku. This could be another COVID relief play. Really, just all this is just we're entering this area of like weekly support from where we took off last time. So if we are going to bounce, this would be a good place to do it. And I think our risk reward is very defined here, especially with, again, more COVID news coming out. If people start to become more fearful, etc. This is definitely a COVID name, streaming, all that sort of stuff. And this is also just in a very good spot. I think this is a solid dip buy, in my opinion. Next we have Shop. Another sort of COVID name, but more of what we're watching here is on the hourly, more of a short-term setup. And they just reported like pretty good Black Friday numbers, so we're gonna try to catch some movement off of that. If you want the exact numbers, I posted them in the channel. But again, just decent setup, playing some news as well. Doesn't look bad. I mean, like I feel like you could call this an inverse head and shoulders if you really want to, if the names mean a lot to you like that. But I'm really just trying to play it for a little more upside. I'll take breaks above like 1600 or 1606, something like that. I feel like would be really good. And then outside of that, really just gonna wait for this trend line up here, excuse me, to pop, which actually should probably line up with what would be the inverse head and shoulders break around like that 1635, 1640 level. And then lastly, we have Tesla. Tesla, what we're seeing here is we just either got an H here or we got a W. It's one of the two. But either way, we're going to wait until we see what happens when we react down at 1060. Once we get down there, we're either going to, we can only go one of two ways. We're either going to bounce or we're going to shoot lower. But I think either move we take off there is going to be a pretty big move. And that's really what we're trying to capture as traders. We're just trying to capture larger moves. So if we catch the move to the upside then, we're just going to buy calls at the support level, obviously stop loss below. And we're going to try to play up to this 1130 level first. And if we buy puts below this level, we're probably looking at like some 1040 action. If we don't end up reaching this level, though, if we start to move higher, I think that's a little unlikely. But if it does happen, we need to plan for it. So if that does happen, start to move higher, I'll take that 1130 break as a break for calls, and then use this like 1140 level sort of as confirmation. Because if we break this 1130, that's a higher high, because this was our previous high. And then if we break above this 1140 level here, Tesla like gapped up from here from before. The gap filled, but these levels still are pretty relevant in the future price action, especially in price action as recent as this. So we're definitely going to be looking at both of those upside levels for calls and breaks. As far as the broad market goes, let's flip back on our daily. Again, I said before that we needed a 20 test, like maybe we start moving towards the 50. I did not expect anything like this. Like this was definitely not what I was referencing last week. But we are starting to make that move. We are starting to make that move closer and closer to the 50. Now, is it likely that we keep dropping towards the 50? I don't know, honestly. I couldn't tell you. That's why the name of the game is just staying light, staying a little more nimble. Like, I didn't really mention any contracts in this stream because a lot of the things I pointed out are either very, very short term, meaning they'd be like weekly day trades, or they're a little more longer term. And if you want to be a little more risk conscious in the longer term, you just buy equity. So really what we're looking at, this is going to be more of a spectate week. We'll take some day trades for sure, especially on the names that we saw a lot of volume in, especially on some of those COVID plays. But generally, this is really just going to be like an information gathering week to see like not only what news are we going to get about like the new variant, but also how the market's reacting. Like how is tech going to take it? How are small caps going to take it? And so forth. And that's really what we're using this week to do. So if you were going to go big on one week, I don't think this is one to do so. Something to note, though, is that we did bounce off of this level right here, this 458 level, or 459, 460, whatever you want to call it. This level right here did bounce and close above that. That's pretty promising as far as relief bounces go. Decently promising for sure. I wouldn't get too optimistic, though. I wouldn't be surprised if we just chop around here and before we decide going higher or lower. But again, that's why I was sort of spectating this week, is because from here, there's really anywhere we could go. If we do start breaking below, we're gonna use the lower day of Friday's candle, just because it's easier and a little more concrete. We're gonna use the lower day of Friday's candle. If we do break that, I am gonna target some 454 level for puts. I'm gonna take the puts down there, and then I'm just going to absolutely ape into like February and March SPY calls, like high 470s, 480s, like maybe 500s just for fun SPY calls, and that's gonna be the plan because that's gonna line up with the 50. If we do start falling below that a little more, like if we break like 450s, I'll probably cut those pretty quickly. But I do think that's a pretty solid bet to have, is that if we do get back to this 454 level, it'll line up nicely with our 50 SMA here, potentially, and then that could be a very nice setup as to, climbing a little bit higher. Something I didn't actually check that I meant to is I want to check the fibs. All right, nothing too relevant there, so we're just gonna leave that off. And the Qs, same type of deal, same type of deal. Just with the Qs, instead of Friday's lower day, we're gonna be using this 387 level, because this low right here, I just think that's a little bit more relevant in the price action for the Qs, and that's really just all we're gonna be looking at. And then same sort of plan. If we hit this 380, gonna line up nicely with our 50, and we're just gonna buy some like longer dated calls. And that's it. It gets very simple from there. Both charts, it's kind of hard to discern an exact direction from, so I don't really have anything on that front. But we do have plans, and our plans are just if we continue lower past certain key levels, we're going to short until we reach some nice support, and then we're just going to buy the dip. And it's that simple. You don't need to overcomplicate anything here, especially when there is so much uncertainty. Keeping it simple is probably your best bet. Now, if we do start moving higher on the Qs, I will be looking at our 20 SMA. I will want to get above that before considering any more calls. There are some like tech names that just look strong, so if the Qs start moving up, that'll back our tech plays, like I was talking about with Facebook. Or I guess they're called Meta now, but that's sort of what I was alluding to there. But as far as like buying calls on the Qs go, or buying just any tech name that doesn't have like a prime setup, I do really want to wait until the Qs are back above that 20 SMA. That's really what I'm looking for. But overall, again, let's just try to have a good, safe week. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you click the link in the description so you can join the streams live. We do have Q&A and like some charting requests after the live stream, so if that's something you're interested in, make sure you definitely join. Again, these streams are free to everyone. You do not need to be a premium member to attend. Completely free and really just to get us all ready for the week. So thank you guys.